Come on, Britain! It's time to escape! The flights, the fun, the thrills! Alton Towers Resort, Britain's greatest escape.
Alton Towers is the most popular theme park in the UK, but as the park's 2024 season came to an end, it felt to us like the park had hit an all-time low. Personally, I believe that Towers, for the most part, has been in slow decline for over a decade now, but at the start of the 2024 season, with the opening of Nemesis Reborn, and the promise that this was to be the resort's best year yet, I had hope for the first time in years that Alton Towers was set to start turning things around. However, as the 2024 season progressed, it became clear that the excitement of Nemesis Reborn and the park's new leadership was yet another false dawn. In fact, I believe today that the future of Alton Towers has, in my 20 years of visiting, never looked quite so uncertain. Ride availability at the park has been the biggest issue, with it being far too common for 2 or more of the park's major coasters to not be open at any given time. This season has also seen many of the park's major attractions be down for days, if not weeks, at a time. Of course, unexpected problems can occur, but for a park to have so many ride closures throughout the season, I do believe that it's now fair to start asking questions as to why in fact this has been the case. Towards the end of the season, there have been days when nearly all of the park's major coasters were not operational for a significant period of time. Even Nemesis Reborn, the park's newest roller coaster, ended up only being able to run 1 train for a period of time towards the end of the season. The Skyride has been closed all year, and despite hope early on in the season, Hex did not open this year until the 11th of October. Although money had been spent on improving the attraction, unfortunately, after opening on the 11th, Hex suffered a technical issue the following day, which caused it to be closed again until the 15th of October. Reading comments from those closer to the inner workings of the park, the hiring and retention of maintenance engineers seems to be a major problem for the park, and this would of course help to explain why the park's rides are suffering from so much downtime. A quick Google search also shows that Alton Towers are actively advertising for new maintenance engineers. Cost-cutting measures have also negatively impacted the park's operations this season. For example, the park started to stagger the opening times of some of its major coasters, and during Scarefest, CBeebies Land closed at 5 PM, several hours before the rest of the park. The operational efficiency of attractions has also been negatively impacted by a lack of staff. On top of this, it's now been reported in the local news that Merlin is set to axe the Merlin Magic team before Christmas, resulting in over 30 job losses. The reports suggest that this is being done to cut costs and that future creative projects will be outsourced. Personally, I think this is likely to have a negative impact on the quality of future projects at the park. With transport to the park being an issue and the fact that the park is not open year-round, staffing and staff retention has always been a problem, and will likely always present the park with challenges. But for the 2025 season, it's essential that the ride reliability and operations show clear signs of improvement. The price and quality of food at Alton Towers has never been great, but again, I think 2024 has seen new lows. Since 2022, Merlin outsourced all food and beverage to a separate company called Aramark. As already noted, food has never been superb or good value at Alton Towers, but since 2022, things have certainly got worse. Quick service locations serve food which actually costs more than large fast food chains like McDonald's or KFC, but unfortunately it also fails to even meet these standards in terms of quality. Of course, it's become expected to pay a premium for food and drink inside a theme park, but prices at Alton Towers go way beyond this in my opinion. Many quick service meals cost upwards of £15, a regular Coke can cost over £4, and the pizza pasta buffet now costs more than £20 for an adult. Of course, we have all seen the rising costs in nearly everything over the last few years, and so rises at Alton Towers were to be expected, but the actual price rises that have occurred on food in the park go way beyond the norm. More premium locations, such as the roller coaster restaurant, a restaurant that I did enjoy when it first opened for its novelty and surprisingly good food, has also more than deteriorated. It too has suffered from serious price increases while the variety on its menu has reduced alongside food quality and service. Alton Towers has also been negatively impacted from the loss of many flat rides over the years and the lack of replacements for these. Granted, some of these losses are apparently due to external regulations outside of the park's control, but this doesn't negate the fact that as a theme park, these losses have really hurt the park's offerings. The lack of flat rides at the park these days is truly startling compared to in the past. For example, X Sector, once home to 2 flat rides, Enterprise and Submission, currently has none. The Retro Squad flat rides were a clear admittance from the park that they lacked flat rides, but of course, these did not return in 2024. Personally, I thought the inclusion of these generic fairground rides within Alton Towers was pretty dreadful, but admittedly, they did add to ride capacity, and this was of course lost with their removal. So far, this video has been very negative, but for balance, I do believe it's worth noting that Nemesis Reborn isn't the only positive thing to take away from Alton Towers this season. Construction has started on a much needed new flat ride which will finally fill the gap left by the iconic Ripsaw within Forbidden Valley. Improvements made to sound and lighting equipment for Scarefest also benefited the event this year, and the positive impact of these updates should be felt for many more years to come. I also love the fact that this year's end of the season fireworks show had a storyline which linked to the opening of Nemesis Reborn and the Phalanx. However, there are still many issues for the resort as a whole to solve. The park's major hotels are in much need for a major refurbishment and have been for many years now. The park has a major accessibility issue, theming needs attention in many areas of the park, and Oblivion can't be too far from the end of its life cycle, and whatever is decided on this will require some serious investment. Alton Towers currently lacks a clear vision, with many lands suffering from half-hearted theming and additions that do not fit the original vision of the area, making these areas feel messy and uncohesive. There is also the major issue that the park's other family-friendly area outside of CBD's land, the world of David Walliams, is extremely underwhelming, even though the area has only been open for a few years. Quite honestly, the Land's Dark ride is one of the worst I've ever experienced. Its storyline is nonsensical, the ride system is clunky, the theming is really poor, and its capacity is awful. The rumour that the park is set to focus more on IP in the coming years is also concerning. There are also the persistent issues of external, strict relations that hold the park back, something they can do little about, and the lack of public transport is also another big issue for the park. It has always surprised me that the park doesn't run their own shuttle service from Uttoxeter or Stoke-on-Trent train station. With Universal Studios Great Britain potentially on the horizon, the next few years at Alton Towers feel vital in determining the park's long-term prospects. Hopefully, plans for Universal Great Britain give Merlin the much-needed wake-up call required to turn around Alton Towers. This will of course require a sizable amount of investment, but with the size of the Merlin Group, this is certainly something financially they should be capable of doing. Like many theme park enthusiasts living in the UK, Alton Towers is the main reason as to why I first fell in love with all things theme park. So I really do hope that Alton Towers can change for the better. The optimist in me hopes that the issues over the last season are more a reflection of prior bad management over the last decade or so, and that the few positive signs of change since new management arrived before the start of this season are a better reflection of what's to come. Let me know what your thoughts are on the current state of Alton Towers and what your hopes for the future of the park are. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, check out some of my other videos and the links in the description.